Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Chairman, you have 11 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee for April 15th, 2025 to order. Are there any announcements or personal orders from the members? Seeing none. This morning, we will only take up the appropriations calendar and finance sub, and then immediately following in full finance. All documents are now available on dashboard for the calendar 5 dated April 15th, 2025. First on our calendar today, House Bill 1409 by Leader Lamberth. Leader Lamberth, you are recognized to pass the baton.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning. I do have, as we get started, we do have amendment number 1, which is filed with the committee, drafting code 7420 by Chairman Hicks. We have a motion and second on the bill. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Chairman. And members, this is the reset amendment.
Okay, is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we're now voting on amendment drafting code 7420 to House Bill 1409. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. We also have amendment number 2, also by Chairman Hicks, drafting code 3600. Motion. We have a motion. I'll second it. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized on draft amendment 2, drafting code 3600.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman and members, this is the administration's amendment to the appropriation bill.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. Amendment number 3 is expected to be drafting code 4400 by Chairman Hicks. We have a motion and I'll second it. Any discussion? Seeing none. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized on amendment drafting code 4400.
Thank you, Chairman and members. Amendment number 3, that is the legislative amendment to the appropriations bill.
Thank you, Chairman Hicks. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 4400 to House Bill 1409, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized on the amendments in the bill, House Bill 1409.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman, members. Good morning. And what we are presenting to you is House Bill 1409, which is the appropriations bill as amended. I think the best way to really get started is to talk about the revenues for this particular budget. The budget this year, the fiscal year 26 budget is $59.7 billion. And just a breakdown of that, 50% does come from state appropriations to the tune of $29.7 billion. 35% comes from federal funds. That is $20.8 billion. And then 15% comes from other sources, which makes up the remaining $9.2 billion. So revenues, talking a little bit about revenues and how we got to where we're at this morning regarding how we're able to fund this particular budget. So each year the budget is comprised of revenue and funding gained from several different sources in growth in tax collections, reversions of unspent funding, other departmental revenues, and investment earnings. And so the one thing we've done in the past couple of years is that we have used recurring dollars for non-recurring expenditures, and that has really set us up for the budgets beginning with fiscal year 23, where we spent 1.3 and for TCAT infrastructure. And then we were able to, when that money got freed up in fiscal year 24, we were able to use 2.6 billion in recurring revenues. And that was to fund state and local road projects to the tune of 3.3 billion. And then in the fiscal year 25 budget, we used 974 million in recurring dollars. And this was mainly for the F&E tax fix, which meant that at the start of fiscal year 26 budget, those funds were available to be spent. So our general fund tax growth, it is slowing to where it has been in recent years. This budget includes no tax growth in tax revenues for the current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 25. And then we will see a 2% growth in fiscal year 26. The 2% in growth equates to $376.7 million in additional recurring state revenue, which has been programmed into the fiscal year 26 budget. And of course, it has also been spent in that budget. Departments reverted over $1.5 billion in unspent funds at the close of fiscal year 24, which left those funds to be spent on a non-recurring basis. In this budget, yearly earnings through the Treasurer's investments have been extremely high in recent years, mainly due to the increased amount of funding invested and higher interest rates. The fiscal year 26 budget includes close to $700 million in non-recurring funding realized through these earnings. And then this budget also includes the latest batch of non-recurring TennCare shared savings to the tune of $346 million. To date, the state has received over $959 million in shared savings through TennCare's waiver program. The legislative amendment reallocates a total of roughly $179 million from the governor's proposed budget to fund $181 million for member-requested amendments and legislation. So, members, that is covering the revenues. Now, let's talk about the expenditures. And again, I'm going to cover the major expenditures, and then we can dial down as deep as you would like to go. So talking about disaster relief, we'll start there. A total of $597 million is put towards disaster relief in this budget. If you'll recall, $240 million for TEMA disaster relief grants to address cost share obligations for the non-federal share of disaster recovery costs are included in this budget. $110 million for Hurricane Helene interest payment fund for the fund, $125 million for the governor's response and recovery fund, $100 million from TennCare shared savings from the Helene Emergency Assistance Loan Fund for local governments, $20 million to aid in the reconstruction of Hampton High School in Carter County, and $2.3 million for a grant to property owners whose property was damaged or destroyed in Hurricane Helene. Sorry. That was disaster relief. Also, to talk a little bit more about disaster relief and what we did, the governor originally put in $100 million, so then put in another $25 million for a total of $125 into the governor's response and recovery fund. So what we did, we actually allocated $20 million of that to go to Irwin for the water treatment plant up there for their facility that was totally destroyed. So we earmarked money for that, as well as $25 million for those Northeast counties that have been really just annihilated up there in Northeast Tennessee. So that covers disaster relief. Then moving on to education, a total of over $640 million in new state funding for K through 12 education, $198 million for one-time teacher bonuses, $148 million for TISA growth, $17 million for financial incentives for high-performing LEAs and grade A schools, $25 million for fast growth stipends through TISA, $20 million for charter school facilities funds, $20 million for school safety grant fund, and $27.3 million for summer learning camps and transportation. Also staying in the vein of education, looking at higher education funding, funding for fully funding outcomes for all LGIs, which includes also UT, community colleges, and TCAP, providing raises and insurance rate increases for higher ed employees, and finally various capital improvements. And again, that makes up the $264 million for higher ed. Moving on to health and social services, over $1.5 billion in new spending for health and social services, inclusive of state, federal, shared savings, and TennCare reserves. And this includes funding for a total of $98 million from shared savings for hospital buybacks, $28 million from shared savings for nursing home provider stability, $18 million to increase the hourly wage of DSPs, providing home and community-based waiver services in the Department of Disability and Aging, and that will go from $15.37 to $15.68. $15 million for behavioral health and infrastructure improvements, training and workforce supports, and $24 million to fund year 4 of the dental pilot program to address unmet dental service needs and increase the number of dentists who practice in the state. Moving on to law and safety. Over $378 million for new initiatives regarding law and safety, and these include $6 million to fund an additional 22 positions at the TBI, $38 million to fund an additional 116 positions within the Highway Patrol, $175 million for public safety grants, and $30 million for additional violent crime intervention grants. Also looking at ECD, a total of $213 million from through ECD from state and fast track reserves for various projects, and those reserves were to the tune of $151 million. $25 million for fast track and infrastructure, and this is for jobs training. $45.8 million for the Rural Development Fund. $63 million for research and development and innovation grants. And then looking over at TDOT, $1 billion has been appropriated for TDOT, $1 billion general fund subsidy for TDOT projects and operations, $34 million for commercial aviation, $26 million for general aviation funding through the Transportation Equity Fund. And then something that we began a couple of years ago was looking at grant pools for our volunteer fire departments, EMS, rescue squads, senior centers, museums. And this year we are adding another grant pool for that of courthouses. And also we're going to provide $500,000 for food banks. But let's go back to the grant pools. For volunteer fire departments, we are going to double that. We're going to have $20 million for volunteer fire departments, $5 million for EMSs, $5 million for rescue squads, $5 million for senior centers, $5 million for museums, and again, $2 million for local governments to assist with capital maintenance and improvements for courthouses. And that is a lot of when we see the members' request, a lot of times that we see requests for improvements for all of these. And so we thought the best way to do that was to put monies into grant pools. And so that's where these dollars are going. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, that was a overview of the budget, the Appropriation Act for House Bill 1409, and I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Hicks. Just to reiterate to the members in the audience and online, the documents for these amendments and the schedule is posted on the dashboard. Do the members have any questions for Chairman Hicks? Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the courthouse grants, would you just kind of talk a little more about that? You just mentioned.
Chairman Hicks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Representative Shaw. And this is a new grant pool. Again, we've had them in the past for volunteer fire departments, EMS, rescue squads, senior centers. And so this year, with all the requests that we had regarding the courthouses, we decided that it would be in the best interest of the state to come up and just create a new grant pool. And so that will again be for local governments, for their courthouses. And this will actually assist with capital maintenance and improvements, again, for courthouses in these counties.
Thank you, Representative Shaw.
And that would be any municipality across the state.
Chairman Hicks.
That would be unless they are receiving a TIF. If they are receiving a TIF, they would not be eligible for those grants.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please open the board for a vote? Those in favor of House Bill 1409, moving on to full finance, please vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 13 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1409 moves to full finance. Item number 2 on your calendar, House Bill 1408, also by Leader Lamberth. We have a motion. I'll second it. Leader Lamberth, you are recognized for a brief introduction on House Bill 1408.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chairman Hicks, I think you have an amendment for this bill, drafting code 6614. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 6614 onto House Bill 1408. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. We also have Chairman Hicks, Amendment number 2, drafting code 7508.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, we are now voting on Amendment drafting code 7508 on House Bill 1408. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. Chairman Hicks, you are now recognized on House Bill 1408 as amended.
All right, thank you, Chairman, members. So House Bill 1408, this is the Budget Implementation Act, or affectionately known as the BIMP. We had the two amendments that we put on. Amendment 1 was the administration amendment. Amendment 2 is the legislative amendment. And again, this is just enacting language for the budget document. The BIMP makes the statutory changes needed to implement the budget. These changes are done in a non-recurring basis. And so Amendment 1 contained language which would have made a recurring statutory change to reallocate revenues from the tire tax from the general fund to TDOT. We got good legal advice that it is more appropriate to accomplish this by amending a bill. So to do this, Amendment 2 actually removes that language from Amendment 1, and it will be proposed an amendment to a bill that's moving through the committee process, and Chairman Hawk will actually be carrying that bill. And with that, I stand to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the board for a vote. Those in favor of House Bill 1408 moving to full finance, please vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 13 ayes, 0 noes.
The ayes do have it. House Bill 1408 moves to full finance. Item number 3 on the calendar, also by Leader Lamberth, House Bill 1407. We have a motion and second on the bill. Leader Lamberth, you are recognized.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is the bond bill. We haven't taken out bonds in a long time, and we are, quite frankly, one of the lowest debt, lowest tax states in the nation. And it makes sense from time to time to actually take on a little debt for long-term projects like buildings. With that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions, and I think there's amendments.
Thank you, Leader Lamberth. Chairman Hicks, you have an amendment number 1, drafting code 6615.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to put that amendment on. All those in favor of amendment drafting code 6615 going on House Bill 1407, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the amendment goes on the bill. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized on House Bill 1407.
All right, thank you, Chairman. And let's just get in the proper posture as far as where we're at. So Amendment 1, what that actually did is provided in the governor's amendment to the budget. That particular amendment expands the bond amount to include an additional $25 million worth of general obligation bonds for MTSU's Murphy Center. And so that just added the Murphy Center into the bond bill. The bond bill actually includes DCS, new Woodland Hills and Wilder Security facilities, TEMA, a new TEMA Emergency Operations Center, ETSU, Brown Hall renovation, MTSU, again, there's the Murphy Center that we added in Amendment 1, Tennessee Tech, Construction Manufacturing Building, University of Memphis, Research Modernization, TCAP Memphis, Aviation Campus Replacement, UT Knoxville Chemistry Building, UT Martin College of Business and Global Affairs, and then the AOC FERF, the Library and Archives renovation for court system, the MTSU Murphy Center. That was actually the additional amendment that we passed in Amendment 1. I'm sorry about that. The first MTSU I mentioned was the initial bond amount. And then TDOT, the bond authorization, is also included. So each year, the bond bill provides authorization to TDOT to issue bonds. However, these bonds are never issued. As a practice, the General Assembly appropriates recurring funds equal to 11% of the principal amount of all general obligation bonds that are authorized but unissued. The 11% combines and assumes 6% interest and 5% principal payment. With these bonds being issued, Tennessee will continue to be a low debt state. Our annual debt service will still be only 1.7% of our tax revenue. And just as a comparison, at the start of the Lee administration, our annual debt service was actually 2.4% of our tax revenue. Many of the bonds issued are for higher education. And then per TSSBA's current policy, higher ed institutions can only issue bonds on revenue generating projects like dorms or arenas, stadiums. The majority of projects being bonded are for higher ed institutions, which are non-revenue generating. And then the TSSBA is currently considering policy changes, which actually would expand the projects for which institutions could seek school bond issuance. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Hicks. Any discussion on the bill? Deputy Speaker Zachary, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leader Lamberth and Chairman Hicks. And you stole my thunder, Chairman, but thank you for covering that. Just to reiterate, as the comptroller told us, we still are the lowest debt state, even with this new bonding. And the indebtedness of the state is still lower than it was when Governor Lee came into office. So thank you, Chairman, for hitting on that. Thank you, Leader Lamberth, Chairman.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker Zachary. Chairman Hicks, any follow-up?
No, thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the board for a vote. Those in favor of House Bill 1407 moving to full finance, please vote aye. Those opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 13 ayes, 0 nos.
The ayes do have it. House Bill 1407 moves to full finance. That does complete our calendar for the day. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized for a full announcement.
Yes, let's say that we will, finance full, we'll meet at 10 o'clock.
Thank you. Do we have any further business? I see none. Yes, you may. Thank you. No further business. I move, we stand in recess.